very important thing first. It's a money talk, so let's start with the money matter. If anybody in the room has any ton allocation below 0.5, let me know, guys. Like Telegram ICO, you know, right? If anyone has allocations, let me know. Now, seriously, Pavel, Vladimir, Anastasia, and all the team, thank you so much for bringing me here. It's the third time I'm in Kiev, I guess. And I was very keen last year to learn about the vibrant local community. The topic of the speech is very dear to me, the Hayek's dream and a stable cryptocurrency. And I will hope to convince you it's a very important thing for you to think about as well. So it's much easier for me to give this message today in January 2018 than say December last year. Because December last year, all currencies were reaching all-time highs, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash or Bcash, Litecoin, like you name it. Everyone was getting richer and richer and richer every second. And what is kind of hard to get the message across and to convince people that sometimes that much price growth is not actually the bad thing. And now in January, we have went down maybe 50%. And it sure hurts for some of you. It does for me. I wish Bitcoin was back at nearly 20,000 USD per Bitcoin. But as a very wise person in a very good movie said once, right? Life is like a box of chocolates. You don't know what to get next. And speaking of chocolates and cryptocurrencies, in cryptos today we have any kind of chocolate for anyone. They can get plain, filled, milk, dark, like you name it, right? We have, I think, over 1,000 currencies right now, and I'm only counting ones with any significant market cap. So the market is flourishing. People are trying to create something new every day. And chocolate, I chose the metaphor because it brings back a memory. People say you remember best things that you're emotionally attached to. And turns out, 20 years ago, I was pretty much attached to, well, chocolate. And I probably is to this day. So imagine Russia 20 years ago, just recovering from the early 90s. People just started to accumulate wealth. Early 90s, typical family could buy a chocolate bar at best once a month, maybe once a year. And it was like a special occasion. Second half of the 90s, you could get one, I don't know, almost every day if you tried and worked hard, right? My parents did. I was a small guy back then. But I remember that for a couple of years, it seemed that Russia has managed to recover. And spectacularly, the price of a chocolate bar stayed almost a constant, around 6 rubles. Alpen Gold. Like one was green, another was purple. Maybe some of you guys from XCIS remember this chocolate bar. And it was almost constant. Then overnight, it went from 6 rubles to 9 and then 10 and then 15. August 14th, 1998, Russia defaults on short-term debt obligations. Russian central bank decides to stop supporting the currency, and all people who hold rubles and live in Russia and work there experience immediate hit in their purchasing ability. And I can no longer get a chocolate bar for 6 rubles. I can only get half of a chocolate bar, right? Okay, but that's just me 20 years ago, maybe not so important. What about you? Who here pays or receives Bitcoins or other cryptocurrencies? Who actually uses cryptocurrencies to transact, to do business? Can you raise a hand? Okay, Mike, I see Mike. Well, 60% at least, right? Good, good. Now keep your hands up, please. Please keep your hands up, please. So when you receive cryptocurrency or when you pay, do you fix the price in crypto? Or do you fix the price in fiat, in traditional currencies, and recalculate every second? So who keeps in cryptocurrencies? Can you leave your head up? Who keeps in crypto? So you guys want, Mike, you keep in crypto. So for example, today you receive 20,000 USD on BTC, tomorrow 10, it doesn't bother you. He's a cool guy, cool guy. And 1, 2, 3, 3 more people here, right? Okay, 5. Wow. So, okay, usually when I do this test, at most one hand remains. And it actually shows that we value the ability to purchase services and goods from the traditional world, right? If I want an iPhone, it's going to cost me, I don't know what, 900 bucks today, irregardless of the Bitcoin to USD price. Like people in Apple don't care that my Bitcoin went down 50%. They're not going to sell me an iPhone at discount to keep the iPhone to BTC price constant. Not going to happen, right? So I very much would like to leave my home in the morning having an iPhone equivalent of Bitcoins in my pocket. and to get to the store by evening and still be able to buy an iPhone. That'd be really great. But Bitcoin today and other cryptocurrencies really fall short a bit, right? Because of this price chart from, I don't know, like 900 a year ago to 19.5 thousand to 10,500 today, or whatever it is, and starting. It's not really convenient to transact in such a currency. And I've just put up some volatilities of some well-known cryptocurrencies and traditional currencies. Very simple measure. Years high price to USD, years low. We divide them and we see that like insane amounts. Ripple, Ethereum, insane volatility. Compared to them, Hryvnia, ruble, euro, even gold and oil are really boring, really stable, really useful currencies, right? Obviously, to transact in oil or gold is not very convenient, but at least the price stays more or less the same. We can sort of, in our mind, peg the value of iPhone to oil, and it won't fluctuate 50% a day or a month. With cryptos, not so much. And again, last year, it was all going up, 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 and okay, volatility, people would say, but it always goes up, so who cares? It's good volatility. But this month went down 50%, and let's see where we'll finish, say, next month. Maybe we'll recover, maybe not. So it's a problem for me for maybe 20 years, probably a problem for you if you use cryptocurrencies daily to transact. Obviously, some great minds realized the problem exists, and at least one great, very prominent economist, Hayek, actually put it that the only property of the currency that we should care about is, in fact, our ability to transact, to pay for goods and services. And the more stable the price is with relation to goods and services, the better the currency is. And that if we have a competing family of currencies fighting, the currencies with the most stable prices will survive. Obviously, not always Hayek. Other people also mentioned that, right? Even Helfini, who some people say was actually Satoshi, right? Posted on Bitcoin Talk completely to that effect. The same quote, right? So people realize that for quite some time, that we need stable prices. So that's good. And for the most part of our history, we didn't have an option to have a competing family of cryptocurrencies. We had centralized government-controlled currencies. Sometimes some small banks or cantons in Switzerland or towns in the United States were able to create a local small currency, but it never could get huge federal adoption because you had to print cash, you had to convince other people to use it, etc., etc., etc. Now we have like over 1,000 at least cryptocurrencies competing. And there is hope that stable cryptocurrencies will branch from asset-like cryptocurrencies and will start winning. People have been approaching these problem cryptocurrencies like for at least 4 years. The first ones was CoinUSD and Nubits. Probably no one used them. Then came the obvious 60, 100-pound gorilla in the room, Tether, right? But I still think we can do much better than Tether. So who uses Tether? No one. Scam. Okay, yeah, I know, right? We don't like it instinctively. There are problems with Tether. Still, it grew almost from 0 to 1.5 billion USD over last year. The Tether is riddled with problems, but people need it, and they use it despite understanding the problems. A lot of people, like from core development teams for other coins, understand all that and told me privately that yes, I see the problems, but I need sometimes to withdraw from the volatility of Bitcoin or Ether or whatever. And where do I put my money? In USD? In Euro? No way. I still want to be able to hold them in my pocket. So I use Tether. So there is huge demand. But back to the first ones. They really fall short on their promise to deliver price stability, right? Why is that? Because they did not have any reserves, and they did not have any formula or smart contract to back up their price. So if you look at the price charts, they're not really stable, and obviously didn't get adoption. BitShares, BitUSD, was the first one that had reserves, but it had reserves not in USD or euros, it had reserves in BitShares. And BitShares as a reserve is a really volatile thing. So you cannot maintain the ratio if your reserve currency is also volatile. It's like if Russian central bank tries to prop up ruble and takes not USD or gold into reserves, but rather hryvnia, not going to work so well, right? Because you cannot stabilize something not stable with something also not stable. And then Tether promises to keep reserves in USD. There probably exists some Tether reserves somewhere. Should admit they're not audited very well, but at least it's possible to, if the Tether creators and current maintainers want it, it is probably possible to audit them and show that yes, we indeed hold 1.5 billion USD in some bank or I don't know where. But the price of Tether fared much better than price of other currencies, right? It fluctuated between 0.96, maybe 1.05, something like that, like plus minus 4 or 5 percentage points. That proved to be acceptable. And despite the shortcomings, people use it because everybody knows, right? Something not completely right, but still we need it and we use it. That's the gorilla, 1.6 billion. Everything else that was created to solve the problem failed. Tether rules. One of the reasons, by the way, that Tether survives is not only that it promises to have reserves. Tether achieved adoption by economic agents like exchanges, Bitfinex, who sort of controls, right? Kraken and Poloniex, maybe some else. So it's not enough to have reserves. You should convince economic agents, the big guys, to actually use your currency. Otherwise, like BitShares, it will be futile. Common problem with Tether is no audits, unclear regulatory status. We don't know, maybe the United States is going to clamp down on Tether and Bitfinex any second and shut them down. That happened to Liberty Reserve and eGold, right? There were companies who tried to create electronic money backed by real stuff, like gold and USD, eGold and Liberty Reserve. They ended very poorly, unfortunately, because of the United States. So how are we going to solve this? We have a number of interesting projects launched 2016, 17, and going on this year. We have a family of currencies pegged to traditional assets like gold, for example, DGX. We have Bancor. It's a smart contract, essentially, providing a single formula, maintaining price stability. And it allows anyone to issue its tokens pegged to whatever basket of currencies, and it promises to maintain price stability. But again, it doesn't have, in turn, doesn't have real-life reserves, unlike DGX. And we have MakerDAO, a very complicated project, but I think it's starting to pick up finally. You can look it up. I could give a dedicated talk on it. But the idea is that we can maybe achieve a peg to Euro or USD, having reserves and having a decentralized market which will allow for arbitrage and will keep price sane. How do they compare? I put up a table. Not going to read it. What's important here, I think, is that the more of a green stuff you have for any currency, then essentially the better. The crux is that we have sort of division here, and we have traditional assets backed and blockchain assets backed. It would be great to marry them somehow, and that, I believe, is the tokenization that Pavel talked about, right? We have to build a bridge from the traditional world, physical world, to the blockchain world. Until it happens, we'll be subject to either problem of auditing the traditional assets or having reserves in volatile blockchain assets, which will not allow us to stabilize the currency. So technology proved to be able to solve some of the problems of actually creating electronic money with stable prices. But we won't be able to achieve the complete and final solution, I believe, without working with the people which are usually despised by the cryptocurrency crowd, right? We have the established organizations we call governments, who actually exercise control over our lives and tell us that you can do that, you cannot do this, that should work like this way, or that should work that way. And from the very beginning, the idea, the ultimate sort of dream was to be able to survive without ever working with governments. Like, we're going to build our own future based on cryptos, without any taxes, maybe without any supervision, without any regulation, without all that stuff. But I think in 2018, every sane person should come to a realization that that's not entirely possible. With governments like United States or United Kingdom or even like Singapore or Switzerland, practically you have to put them into the equation. You cannot just hand-wavily say, it's all immaterial, it's all on the blockchain, I cannot be held accountable. Unfortunately, we can and will be held accountable if the system we build reaches some level at least of a tether. And I'm sure the guys behind tether are very much concerned this day about how they're going to handle it with the governments, right? So why not sort of approach the governments immediately with our solution before it reaches, sort of gets out of hand? Maybe we should consider the governments, the ones that are actually open and promising with regards to embracing crypto initiatives. We have like Malta, Isle of Man, Gibraltar, Switzerland and Singapore to some extent, maybe Kazakhstan, maybe even, you know, Russia announced crypto ruble yesterday. They're competing. At least some of the governments are trying to bring blockchain enthusiasts and provide legislation and safe working frameworks. So that's one thing. We should probably, whether we trying to solve this stable currency problem, we should think which governments will be accommodating for us. Then we should figure out what do we put in reserves and how do we audit them? And how do we prove to the outside world that we do indeed hold these 1.6 USD as TISA reserves? What do we do? And what are these reserves going to be in? USD, probably not a good idea, because remember Liberty Reserve and e-gold. Euros, maybe a better idea, because euro sort of belongs to everyone, and then, like in communism, to no one in particular. Maybe traditional assets like gold and oil, I don't know. But the crux is you have to figure out how your currency going to provide to the needs of these government guys. How are you going to solve AML, how are you going to do audit, how do you do maybe KYC, etc., etc., etc. And you're going to provide the mechanism to maintain the price stability. And you're going to use all that's available. You're going to give an ability for people to arbitrage the price of your currency on some decentralized exchange with the price of a Euro USD on some centralized, old-fashioned, big market like, say, Forex, right? There has to be a possibility to build a bridge. You have to provide the possibility for a smart contract to exist, to maintain the price stability with a set formula, like in Bancor, or maybe with some formula allowing for modifications, like in MercaDAO. You have to allow for it to happen. And then we'll have a competing family of cryptocurrencies trying to achieve this stable ratio to iPhones or services or whatever, right? And hopefully some will survive, and we won't have this TISA problem, but we'll be happily using something stable, which we'll be able to hold in our pockets as a private key and transact freely with good low fees and not be subject to the asset volatility of Bitcoin or Ether or whatever. Because Bitcoin, I think, this year is finally switching, unfortunately, from a first transacting currency to like an asset which you hold to store value, hoping it will appreciate or at least stay the same. Okay, so this project very dear to me, and we sort of drive this initiative in Exante, and that's why you might be wanting to join us, because we had some success in crypto space and traditional financial space. So again, I'm speaking about this project everywhere I come to. If you're interested, please come to me after the talk. Let's chat. Let's see how we might work out. Thank you, folks.